Hello, and welcome to our webinar. This month's webinar will be a masterclass on reporting. Together, we'll uncover how tracking learning progress motivates learner, empowers instructors, and provides admins with the data they need to drive your training strategy forward. But before we get into more of that, let's get our introduction for the day. I'm Irini, Customer Enablement Consultant, and I will be your host today, but I'm not alone. I'm with Nick, my good colleague.
Hi there, people. I'm Nick, and I'm a senior customer educational enablement consultant. And as Irini said, we are together to help you become masters on reporting.
Thank you, Nick. And before we move on here, just a reminder, this webinar is recorded and it will be sent out to you by email once it's over, so feel free to share it. And of course, a live Q&A will take place during the session. Our own Theo will be answering questions in the background during the session, and some of them will also be answered by us live. So feel free to use your Q&A button in order to answer your questions. You can find them, of course, in your meeting control panel on your screen. So let's get started. So as I said, this will be a masterclass in reporting, and it will be delivered to you in two parts. And in today's part, we'll focus on learners and instructors. So let's check our agenda for today. We'll start with the learner role and how they can track their own progress. Then we'll demonstrate on how to export and schedule reports. And last, how instructors can measure training results. And as always, the live Q&A will follow. So I'm passing the mic to Nick so we can all get started. Nick, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Irini. And what really makes sense in our case here, I think it is to actually start from the learner side of it, pretty much. So let me share my screen. It should be up now. And essentially, what we are seeing is that I am logged in as a learner. Now, the learners do, of course, have access to their own report. And as we're going to see, it's a very detailed report. But the question is, how does the learner have actually access to that report? So where can they find it? In order for them to find the report, they need to mouse over their name. And from here, they're going to click at My Progress, and it's going to take you to your reports. So that's one way to do it, but a kind of easier way. If you look at the right side of your screen, you're going to see progress here. All you can do, just click on progress, and it's going to take you to your reporting as a learner. So this is my reporting for Armin. Right now, again, I am impersonating Armin. And we see we have a lot of tabs here to talk about. So let's get started with the first one, overview. So what do we see here? First off, we see the account of our learner, and indeed their email in here, as well as the ability to see overall how many courses we have completed, the overall training time we have spent within these courses, how many badges we have, and how many points we have. These have to do with our gamification, as well as many certificates we actually have. Now, a thing to keep in mind as well here. I have my activity, and I have this big donut chart here, which tells me how I am roughly doing. And if I scroll a bit more down, I see the badges that the learner has and how he can do, where his positioning is in my gamification compared to the other learners. Now, specifically in here, we have the ability as well to export. And you're going to see that we have the ability to export. And what this practically means is that the report that we're going to have a detailed look at in just a bit, my learner can click on that and they can download basically an Excel file that is going to contain a condensed version of this report. And they can have it, maybe they want to filter it, or maybe they want to upload it somewhere in a cloud service or something similar. So if that is the case, they can just click on export and they can download an up-to-date version of their total reporting. Now, my user, probably they care about their courses, right? So they can go to the tab called Courses. And here they can see all the courses they are enrolled in. So Armin right here is enrolled in 12 courses. You can use the arrows to navigate as well. And The course he has completed is this specific one. So this is the name of the course. I see indeed that the course is completed, the score they received on the course, the date they were enrolled, the date they completed it, and the overall time it took for them to complete the course. I know that within this course, I have two tests. So if I click on the test section, I will actually be able to see all the tests that this specific learner has actually taken part in. So we have two tests, both were a part of the same course, as you can see. And here's the date and time that actually both of them were completed. The overall score, and as you can see, the time it took for each of them to be successfully completed. Now also here, I had the scoring file within the course, and indeed my learner, here's the name of the scoring file. It's within the course, as we mentioned previously, the date and time they started it, the result, they passed it with a 100% score, and the overall time it took for that was 7.5 minutes. Also, at the end of this course, I had provided a survey for the learners to basically give their opinion to me. I can click on the surveys and I can see that this is the name of the survey. Again, it was a part of the same course, the date and time that it took to be completed. We also have assignments. We covered this as well, but briefly, an assignment is kind of different compared to a test, for example, because an assignment has an answer that needs to be manually checked by the instructor. So here's the assignment, the date and time it was submitted, the status, the overall grade, and this is not given automatic, it was graded by the instructor. And here, as you see, I have the little I symbol. With the I symbol, I'm going to see the answer I provided. And the question is, how do you feel about remote training? And Armin actually was very happy. He said, it's the best. And then I can see the reply from the instructor with a little magnifying glass. Click. And now I can see the instructor really liked it as well. So their notes said correct, and they gave him a pass of 100%. This course, upon being completed, awarded my learner with a certificate. So if I click on the certificates here, I can see the certificate that they received. Now, normally when my learner receives a certificate, at that moment, they can look at the certificate and they have the option as well to put this up in their social media account, basically their LinkedIn profile. Same idea applies here. My learner can actually see the certificate. It's given as part of this course, and this is the date that was issued. I know some of you have certificates that have an expiration date. So if that was the case here, you would be able to see the expiration date appear. However, this specific certificate is evergreen. It's available forever, so it never expires. And then what my learner can do is either click on the little icon here for the certificate to download it. And of course, this is very useful if they want to keep it at a local folder, or if they want to have this file, maybe in a cloud storage option. Or alternatively, there's the little LinkedIn option here. You see it says share. I could click on that and add this as a post in my LinkedIn profile, which I could just click on here. You see LinkedIn open. I would actually need to log into LinkedIn to be able to post that. So my learner has the ability to download their certificates, but also post them on LinkedIn. And remember, posting the certificates on LinkedIn, it's not something that is mandatory. It is an option that can be turned on or off based on what the administrator of the platform desires. We have a couple of more options. So maybe, Irini, would you like to cover this?
Yes, definitely. So let me just share my screen. I hope that you all see my screen now. I have already logged in as another user, and moving on into the badges. Now, as long as you have the gamification activated in your portal and you have set it up and you have enabled the badges as well, from here, the learner can actually check what are the available badges that they can earn by completing courses, reaching basically the milestones that you can see here within the brackets. And of course, they can also see what they have earned so far. The badges that they have earned will be highlighted in different colors. The gray ones are the pending ones. And of course, this is a report that the learner can also download through here. Now, moving on, the timeline. This is the activity log of the user. Everything that is been happening with the user will be recorded here. So the learner can actually check any events related to completion of courses, to removing themselves from courses, any updates, any grade or certificate events. And of course, they can expand and scroll if they're looking for a certain timestamp. And of course, this is a list that they can definitely download as a CSV file from this button here. Now, these are all the reports that we can find on the progress bar, but I'm going to take you into the infographic and introduce you into a different type of report. And just to give you a little bit of context of what are the infographics, the infographics are in general a visual representation of information and data designed to present complex information quickly in an engaging and easily understandable format. So in TalentLMS, the learners also have access to their own personal infographic. So as you can see here, Sasa has her infographic here with the date. And then the infographic comes with sections, which will include metrics and charts and bars and images. So you can follow up on progress in a different way. So you can see metrics about the total number of courses and the certificates and the points Sasa has earned. There's also the section of training time where Sasa can check the training time in total within the TalentLMS portal. And of course, in bars, the courses that she has interacted most. Then we have in a form of a donut chart, the course completion rate, the test pass rate, and of course, some more metrics about courses and executions. Of course, there is a section with the badges. So at the moment, Sasa has unlocked 3% of the badges. And here you can see the actual badges he has earned. And also this button will take you back into the badge report. And of course, there's another section related to the gamification and to the leaderboard. So through here, Sasa can also check where she ranks into the leaderboard. Now, this is the type of report that the learner can also export through here as a PNG image in case they want to include it in a presentation or use it elsewhere. And that is all with the reports that the learner has access to and how they can check their own progress within the TalentLMS portal. And I think, Nick, that it's time for a quick Q&A break because I can see some interesting questions. And I'm going to start by taking the first question coming from an anonymous attendee who is asking, can learners customize their infographic? I'm afraid the answer in this is no. The learners can only view and download the infographic, although the admins have the option to customize system, branch, or group infographics. The learners cannot customize their own. So they can only download and view.
And this
And
actually answers the question of Zoe and Wolf, which are very similar, as I see here. As a learner, you cannot edit what your infographic shows, and we cannot change as a learner the background or the look of the infographic. In the next session that we're going to carry out, when we talk about the administrator, we will see that the administrator has the ability to change this. But as far as the learner is concerned and their own infographic, then this is what is provided by the system. So they cannot change it in order to display different fields, basically, or have a different look. I hope that this makes sense.
yes, and there's another question related to infographics from Francesca. As an admin, how can we change the look or what the learners see in the infographic? Now, when it comes into the learner's infographic, neither the admins can affect that. An admin can only customize a branch or a group infographic, but they cannot affect the learner's infographic. It's being set up like this, so an admin cannot edit the infographic either. But as Nick said, in our next reporting masterclass, we will check how we can also customize infographics as admins. Now, Nick, are you ready for one more question before you continue with the instructor
Sure.
part?
One
There's
or two,
another.
whatever you want.
Yes, there's another question coming from Jill. Can a user remove themselves from a course?
Ooh, nice question. I will need to share my screen for that. So let me just do this. There we go. And if I did everything correctly, you should be able to actually see my screen. Now, the question was if a learner can reset their progress in a course, right? Or remove themselves from a course.
It was remove themselves from a course.
You know what? Let's do both of these together, actually, because this kind of go hand in hand. So, as we said before, I am Armin, which is just a learner. And here he can see all of the courses that he's actually being enrolled in, and it's quite a lot of them. However, he has only completed one of these. So, can Armin, first of all, reset his progress within the course? He has no such option. There is no option from here, and there is no option even if they go into the course. They can click here, go to course, and they could rewatch it if they want. Maybe they want it, I allow them to do that as an admin or an instructor to watch it, as educational material, also as a reference material, as a callback. So they can do that again, but they cannot really reset their progress. This is something that an admin can do, and more specifically, an instructor can do, reset others into the courses. So Armin by himself cannot reset his progress in a course. Can he, though, remove himself from the course? This is something they can do. So this is the course they have and they are completed. What if they want to remove it so it doesn't show up? Well, they can mouse over their name and they can go to My Courses, which is going to show all the courses that they're actually enrolled in. And again, here you see there is no ability to reset. You can just visit, go to the course with the arrow, or with a minus symbol, he's going to unenroll himself from the course. And now if we go back home, we're going to see that the one completed course they had, it's not here anymore. And you see now they have 11 courses in progress, not 12. But here's the interesting thing. They go into the course catalog and they pick up this course again. So this is the course that they had before. If they get it, now they go home, here is the course again. So they can be enrolled again. But look at the progress. The progress stays to complete it. So basically, it doesn't matter if they remove themselves from the course and then they retook it, their progress will be up to 100%. So whatever it was before. So I want you to keep that in mind, because essentially my learner can remove himself from courses or can add themselves back again, but they cannot change their overall progress. And I see a question from Luca here. Can the administrator disable the option for the learner to remove himself from a course? I can show you very briefly. So since we're talking about that, now I'm an administrator, right? And the short answer, Luca, is yes. But how? User types. And here I can determine what each of my learners can do. We're talking about the actual learner type, the learners, not the instructors. So I'm going to click on the learners themselves to see their permission. And here are the learner permissions. So in the course part, you see, remove self from course. If I uncheck this, actually, let me uncheck it and save it. There we go. So now this change has been saved. So if I go back again to become Armin, and I could be anybody else, but I'm just going to show you with the same person for consistency. There we go. My courses, you see now they don't have the option to uncheck it. So yes, we do have the option. It is down to us as an administrator to decide how we're going to do it. But I want you to remember this will apply to all of my learners. So always keep in mind that your learners are going to be affected by this. If you only want it for some specific learners, but not everybody, you might want to consider creating a specific learner type and only associate with specific permissions that you want and only associate it to the relevant users. I don't see any more questions right now, so maybe really, since I have already started sharing my screen, I can stay here and we can talk about the instructor side of it.
Yes, definitely. Go on.
Super. So I'm an administrator. Let me swap over to instructor so I can show you. So right now I'm an instructor. As a learner, I had the option here to click my progress and get reports. However, the instructor does not work like that. The instructor is the dedicated person, and you have to remember this, is a dedicated person for creating, maintaining, and managing courses. So this means that we will get the reports on a course level. So what do I have to do? Well, go into the course that I want. And now I have the ability to pick reports. And now a whole new world is going to open before me because I do have a ton of different options in terms of reporting here. Like before, we're starting with the overview. This is about the course, remember. So I have here the thumbnail of the course, the name of the course. If you're using course codes like me, it's going to show up here. I have 11 people assigned to the course as learners. 3 of them have completed the course. That's their average score. That's the average assignment score. And that's overall training time. And I can see generally the participation of people. And overall progress review as well, my donut shape. 63% have not started it, 9% have not passed it, 27% have completed it. So this is my overview. Now, if you remember, when we talked about the learner has the ability to export something in Excel. Well, the instructor can do exactly the same thing. They can click on export, and everything here, the overview and a brief overview of the little different tabs, are going to be downloaded as a specific Excel file. However, there is one very, very big difference between the instructor and the learner. And this is a little arrow. A little arrow sometimes makes all of the difference. So next to export, I have a little arrow here. I didn't have this as a learner. And what this allows me is to schedule. So the instructor, not only they can download the report, but also they can schedule them. What does it practically mean? First of all, if I schedule a report, it means that I can specify a frequency and then have the system send that report to me based on the frequency I determined. And what I'm going to receive from the system is an email coming from my platform, and it is going to have an attachment with the Excel file that I have requested. So first of all, as you see here, schedule, and I can determine the frequency. So let's say I want this weekly, right? It's a report for a course. I want it every 1 week, so every week. And now I get to pick a day. You know what? I'll tell my system to send me Saturday, because if the system sends me a report on Saturday, it means I have enough time to actually include the data from my night shift people that worked Friday night. So I can have this included in my list as well. So every Saturday, the system is going to send me this email. I just click on schedule, that's all. And every Saturday I will receive the report. Maybe this report is something that I want for our big quarterly meetings. So I can say every month, but it's a quarterly meeting, so I want it every 3 months. When, let's say that our report meeting is on the 15th, I want the report a couple of days before. So every 3 months at the 12th of that month, I'm going to receive the scheduled report. Again, I just click on schedule. There it is. And now it is scheduled. You see, I mouse over here and it tells me next run when it is going to be run. And it tells me it's every 3 months. I can click on that. Back to my scheduling, all scheduled reports, you see, it appears here. If I want to cancel out of it, I click on X, then delete, and it's gone. I also see the question from Francisca in the chat. What is custom recipients? Let me talk to you about it because I was going to anyway. There you go, custom recipients. What is this? You said, is it for email for people that are not in the platform? Yes. So what if this specific report, I want to send it not only to myself, I want to share it with Irini, with Theo, who is answering there in the chat and is helping out, with some other colleague. Well, what I need to do is I can put here the email addresses of everybody that I want to receive this report. One thing that I want you to remember with this, if I want to receive it as well, and I use custom recipients, I should also put my email in the custom recipients to make sure I receive it as well, because the system will only send it to all the people marked as custom recipients. And the very cool thing is that all the people that you're going to put here as custom recipients, first of all, they're going to be BCC'd in the email that the system is going to show, which basically means they do not know that the other people are receiving the report. They just see a report from TalentLMS coming to them, but they do not know who else gets this report. They only see it for themselves. So my data and who I'm sharing data with is safe. The other thing, exactly like you said, Francesca, in your question, I can put whatever email I want in here. It doesn't have to be an email that is already connected with an account in TalentLMS. You can put any email you want, a Gmail, a corporate email, and this email, the only thing we want is a valid email. It doesn't have to be an email that exists in TalentLMS. And I have seen a lot of clients that use this with their accounting or their finance teams, which are not people that necessarily need to train TalentLMS, and you are good to go, basically. So this is for scheduling. Let me also talk to you about users, because remember, we're still at the course report, and one of the key things you want to see in a course report is how your users are doing. So I can click here, and I can see all of the users that I have in the course. I have 14 people, so I can swap over to the next page as well to see more. Now, let's look at Armin. Armin is a learner, okay? And we know already he completed the course. Here, if I actually click on completed, I see all the units of the course, so the content that I have, and that I have actually completed the content. If somebody was halfway through, like Passive, I can click on her, and then I can see exactly which parts of the course, which units she has completed. So very useful if you want to see where everybody is. The final score Armin received for the course was 100%. If they click on that, then you see the rules that I set for the course, which basically explain how the score is going to be calculated. In this course, I have 2 tests and 1 assignment. So the average is going to be your average score, the score you have overall, your test and assignments within the course. I can also see the completion date. I can see the time it took my learner to complete the course. And if you remember, I kind of have the similar icons for the certificate that I had for my learner. So I can click on that. And now I can see the certificate for my learner. So there you go. And I can see the certificate Armin received. Super cool. And here I have the button to actually download it. And then I can do what I want with it. But Nick, where is the question? Where is the button to share with LinkedIn? Well, this exists for the learner. If I'm an instructor, would I want to share the certificate of my learners in my LinkedIn account? Or would I have access in my LinkedIn account to their LinkedIn? No. So it makes sense that obviously I cannot share with LinkedIn because these do not happen in my account. This is Armin's certificate, not mine. You also might notice there's some more tabs up here. If I scroll to the right, you are going to see location, department, manager. What are these? These are my custom user fields. If you're using custom user fields and you have them show up on your reporting, then they're going to appear on your user tabs as well. And now we have a couple more tabs to show you. So let me have a break for some water. And Irini?
Yes. So again, I'm going to share my screen. And of course, apart from the overview and users that Nick has just demonstrated, we have some more reports here that are associated with the units that we can add in our courses, and more specifically with the units that evaluate the users, share the feedback that they have to give to us. So each of these units have their own respective reports. So starting with the tests, since this course has 2 tests, you can see the list of the test reports here and some statistics, how many people have completed the test, how many have passed the test, and the average score. And of course, from here, you can reset the progress of the test for all the users. Now, if I click on a specific test report, I can see, of course, the overview tab with the list of executions. So for each user, I have the timestamp, the result, the score they achieved in this test, and the time they spent. And of course, any custom user fields I have visible for reports. And if I want to, I can also check for each user the individual answers by clicking this magnifying glass here. And of course, I can scroll and print those answers. Now, if I want to reset the progress of a single user, the button is here. And of course, the export button and the schedule functionality, which you will see on the upcoming reports as well. Now, apart from the executions, there's also another tab here, the analysis tab. This is where you can check the answer distribution for this test. And it's a really good method to evaluate your own test and identify what are the questions that the learners struggle the most, what are the questions that they passed really easily. And of course, you can also check the first and last attempt when it comes into answers distribution. And last but not least, the timeline where you can see the activity log of this test and exactly its user, if they've passed, if they're not, if they haven't passed, and the timestamp. Now, if I go back into the overview, you may have noticed this little funnel icon here. This will allow me to filter by group or by branch. Because if I have a course that has been shared in multiple groups and multiple branches, from the test report, I can see all the executions. But if I want to narrow down the results a little bit, the branches and the group options are also here to help me out. Now, going back into the reports and moving on into the score. If you have included SCORM files in your courses, again, you will have a SCORM report. And if your SCORM files have also a test at the end, again, we will have a distribution of answers as well. So the list of SCORM files, completed and passed rate, and the average score. And if I click on the actual SCORM report, I can see the list of executions, how many have passed, again, the timestamp, the score, the time spent, custom user fields, and the distribution and the executions of each user. And from the analysis tab, the distribution of answers as well in this SCORM file, which includes a test. Moving on. We have the surveys. Now, the surveys is the type of unit that we can add in order to collect feedback from our learners. And since the learners share feedback and they're not evaluated, on this page, you will not see any score, any average pass rate. You will only see the list of surveys and how many have completed a survey. And if I actually check on a survey, I can see the list of users that have participated in the survey, the timestamp, and the time spent in the survey, again, the custom user fields, and the option to check the individual answers. And again, the analysis tab with the general distribution. Moving on to the assignments. This is the other type of method to evaluate the users. Just to give a little bit of context here, the instructor will add a topic and the learners will add their own submissions. So from here, you can see the list of assignments, and for each assignment, how many submissions we have and how many learners have passed. And a kind note here, the instructors will evaluate the learners and they will decide if they have passed the assignment or not. And of course, the average grade. Now, if I click on the assignment, again, the overview tab with the list of users with their submission date, the status, the grade that the instructor provided, the time they spent in that assignment, the custom user fields, and this little magnifying glass will give us the submissions. So as you can see, Armin here has answered it's the best. Again, we can reset the progress for each user and the timeline of that assignment as well if you want to check on the activity log of that assignment. And I think that with that said, I can pass the mic to Nick so he can move on with the rest of the tabs that we see here. Nick, what do you say?
Sure thing. So let me again share my screen. And let me make sure I pick the correct one. There we go. And let's continue with the last three tabs that we actually have here. So picking up from where Irene talked about assignments, we have ILT. Now, maybe you're not using ILT. I know some people love them. Some people don't use them as much. It depends on your needs. But what is an ILT if you've never seen this before? An ILT, basically ILT is an initial and it stands for instructor-led training. So essentially an ILT is a live session that you are running within your course. And these live sessions can be either a physical one, maybe you're having an amphitheater, maybe you're having a meeting room that you have booked in order to meet face-to-face with people, or it can be something done remotely in a tool such as Zoom, or maybe it is Microsoft Teams. So you have a lot of options in terms of how to build ILTs, but what about actually reporting on ILTs? Well, here you're going to see that I have one ILT. It's called Meet Your Instructor. 4 people registered, 4 have passed it, and this is their average grade. You can click on that to get a more detailed view. And indeed, first of all, you see the details for each person, the date they were graded, the status of their grade, which grade they actually got. These are my custom user fields, one more. I have them here. These are the sessions that I had in this live event. I only had one session, so I can see the details. Monday meeting at the office. It was not remote. It was actually in a physical location. This person was the instructor that ran the session, and this is the location where it took place. I had unlimited capacity, but 4 people registered, and this is the date and time this took place. Once more, you have the timeline to show you the history of what happened within the specific ILT, the live session. And remember, like all of the other reports, the ability to export or the ability to schedule this specific report exists here. And you can actually do this as you see fit. Now, if I go back to my reports, I'm going to see that I have 2 more. I'll skip unit matrix because I want to talk last about this, and I'm going to talk about timeline instead. We have already talked about timeline as we were talking about our previous reports, the smaller ones that have to do with the tailored parts within the course. And in here, you see all the actions taken within the course. For example, I have Armin here. If you remember, he's self-removed from the course, and you can just see it here 20 minutes ago. 20 minutes have already passed, okay? And you can see Armin was removed from this course by himself because he's self-removed from the course. And then you can see he added himself to the course via self-enrollment. So what I want you to remember here is that the timeline is not something that will only show me my actions in the course. It's going to show me the actions of everybody in the course. My learners, if I have other instructors, if I have admins, everybody that basically messes up with the course or is taking some type of action, I'm going to see it here. And I see here that reply, for example, Pacify upload a reply for the assignment. If I just click on reply, it's going to filter assignment replies. So these are 4 assignment replies. Actually, this is how many I got. I can click on timeline again, or maybe I can see who was added in the course. Or I can see when somebody was graded, and I can see indeed that I graded these 4 people in the assignment. So you see, you have the option to see exactly what happened within the course. In your timeline, always, you have the filters to move along, but you can always click on this and save it as a CSV file. So with that said, let me go to unit matrix. What is the unit matrix? Not the movie with Keanu Reeves. So it looks though like an Excel. If you look at it, it has rows, it has columns. So what does this mean? Remember, I'm still in a report of a course. The rows you see are my users. So this shows me the users that are registered inside the course. And the columns are the units within the course, not in any random order, in the order that I actually set them up. So essentially, what the unit matrix does is that it shows me which user has completed which part of the course. So it is very, very, very handy for me if I want to kind of step a bit back and have a look from a higher vantage point to get quick information so I know with whom I have to follow up and how my learners are doing. Obviously, the symbols here are going to tell me different things. So you see, I kind of have this off-white, which basically means that it was not attempted. So that user has not even attempted that specific unit. And you also have this green check mark, which means that something was successfully completed, or the red X, which basically means something was failed. So keep that in mind. And if you forget it, the little eye is here, you can click on it, and then you can actually see a small legend. Also, you have the orange one, which we do not have an example to show, but basically an orange means that the person is in progress, which means they have picked up the specific unit and they keep working on it, but they're not completely done with it yet. Now, what can you do here? A lot of things. You can search by users, absolutely. So if I just wanted to see Armin, I could just type Armin and I could just see how this person is doing. Or I think Irini showed before this little funnel icon. You can click on that and basically you can filter. Maybe you want your active people or not. That's your choice. But you can also filter people from a specific branch or a specific group. If this course was within a branch, obviously I would not be able to see branches outside of mine, right? But let's say I have here a group for new hires. So you see now I have 3 people instead of 4 because these are only the learners that I have that are in the group new hires. So this way you can filter by a group and see how the users of this specific group are performing within the units of your course. And of course, if you want, you just click on X and you remove the filter. Now, I know some of you like this, but some of you might wish instead of these little symbols that they had some more practical details to see. No worries. Options. And from here, maybe you want to see how much time they spent within the unit. So I can pick unit time. And you see the symbols are actually replaced by the time they spent in the different units. So there somebody spent 7 minutes, whereas here somebody spent 26 seconds. And again, obviously, I can see exactly what's up. If you don't want the time, but maybe you want to see the score, you click unit score. And now you see that I do have the score here. And remember, some units do not have score. Obviously, the only units that will have a score are those that can be scored. So Meet Your Instructor is an ILT, which I have to grade as an instructor. I see what people are graded. Training Principles is a test within a SCORM file. I can see what people have gotten in the SCORM file test. Practice round is a first test. Assignment is an assignment. And I can see here Pacify has failed that. And quiz is the second test, and I can see what people did in there. As always, the unit matrix can be exported or can be scheduled in Excel if you want to share with the team. And I actually think that this was pretty much all of the reporting part of the instructor. So let's see some questions then.
Yes, so I see that you picked a question from an anonymous attendee that says, so would it be best to put the user into a group, then the instructor can receive a scheduled group report every few weeks or so? Is this the best way for an instructor to keep track of a user's progress?
I wish I had your name. Thanks a lot, Irene, for reading the question out. Just let me clarify a bit on this. As you see, an instructor does not have a direct option to get a group report. I mean, I could go into my groups and look at the group if I am a member of that group, but I cannot really get a group report as an instructor. So there is a couple of different ways you can get the progress of that person. One is to check course by course, which obviously is going to take a lot of time. But remember that on the next session, we're going to see the admin as well. The admin can get group reports. The admin can get the big report, which is the equivalent of the unit matrix, but this ties a user to all of their courses. So the admin can even get a user report for an individual person. So what you could do, you could consider either making your instructor an admin or give them admin permissions in the reports so they can see the reports on a user specifically. Or if you don't want to give them extra permissions, which is sometimes the preferable option, have your admin pick the report that you want and schedule it and have it sent out to the instructor's email address. So this way you don't give to your instructor any extra permissions. Instead, your instructor is going to be able to receive the report that the admin has scheduled for them. So you can go one of two ways. It was a really nice question. I think that now it makes a bit more sense. Do we have more questions, Irene?
Yes, and I will share with you the next question. Comes from an anonymous attendee as well, and is related to the ILTs. What if the live session is on site? Is there a report to view?
Very nice question. Okay, so we already kind of talked about it. If you go into your reports and your ILT report, this is my session, right? This is my ILT. And in here, I had one session. This session was not with a tool, it was live. So face-to-face, I mean, brick and mortar. So for the system, TalentLMS does not discriminate, which means if your session is going to be held in Zoom, you're going to get the report. If your session is going to be held in an office building, you are going to get the exact same report. So you're super fine with it. You're going to get your result either way. However, I have a small tip here. Let me go to my course as an instructor. This is not exactly tied to your report, but I think it makes sense as a follow-up question to that. If you run your course through a tool like Zoom or Teams, what will happen is you can track the attendance of people through Zoom and Teams. This is what they're built to do. You can look there and you can see which learner actually joined. What if they're face-to-face? So what if you booked a room? Maybe you don't know the people, so you don't know the faces to know who actually joined. Well, in that case, here I have my live training. And as you see, indeed, it was in a meeting room somewhere in a physical location. It was not live. Well, if I edit my ILT session and I can actually go here in my users, I can see that this was the Monday meeting at the office session I already had with 4 people registered. And of course, even if this happens in the future, you're okay. For me, it's a past session, but would work the same for a future session. Print attendance sheet. And now the system prepared for me a nice PDF. This is the logo of my platform, the name of my platform, the name of the ILT session. My specific session was called, Meet Your Instructor. Engaging Remote Teams is the name of the course. The date and time it's going to be held, the name of the instructor, the location is going to take place, and most importantly, the name of the people that have signed up, as well as their email addresses. And there's space for signatures. So I can save this. And basically, if I'm going to run a session through the office, I can just pass this paper around and basically have people sign their names so I can know exactly who joined up on the session. On the other hand, if it's held in a tool, obviously I can use my tool's reporting capabilities to get an answer in regards to that. Do we have more questions, Irene, or something you want to answer?
Yes, let me grab some so you can get some rest and then you will take over again. So there's another question from an anonymous attendee that says, we saw on one of the dashboards that the expiry date was shown next to the course name. How do we do that, please? Well, let me share my screen. So since we're talking about expiration dates in the courses, all you have to do is just log in as an instructor, access the course, and click Edit Course to get into this page. This is the course setting page. And as you can see here, we have an option, we have a button for time options. So if your courses should be completed by a specific date, you will go with the duration and not the expiration date here. If, however, you cannot specify the date, but you want to set a general time frame that the course should be available for every user, you can go with the time limit. And the time limit will start counting by the first day of enrollment of each user. In both cases, you will end up having expiration dates that will be visible right next to the progress bar on a red block. And it's the date that the learners will have access to the course, and they need to complete the course until then. If the expiration date passes, the course gets into a restricted mode and the learners cannot access it anymore. I hope this will help, but if you want more details, Theo, can you please share the link of our webinar of how to create a course where we discuss that on the chat, so we can give more resources to our anonymous attendee here. Thank you very much. And I will continue with one more question coming from Ellen. She asks, how can an instructor filter course reports by groups? I think that we have shown that. So let me show that one more time. Again, I'm clicking on the course, get into the reports. And if I access the users tab, this is what I'm looking for, the little funnel icon here that you can find in every report, almost in every report. And this will allow you to filter users and narrow down the results by status, of course, branches, or by groups. Hope this helps. And if you allow me, Nick, I will answer one more question and then I will pass the mic to you. Now, there is a question from Erin. Can I see the different attempts of a user in a test? Yes, that's a really great question. So let me show you how you can check that. So if we check on the test report, and let's go in this single test. From the analysis tab, you can check the first and last attempt. But what if you want to check the in-between attempts and for individual users? Well, as long as you have allowed the repetitions in your test, if you click on the user, for example, Pacify here, if you click on this little magnifying glass, you will see this drop-down menu that will show you the executions for each attempt. So this is attempt number 1, and the answers she provided, and this is attempt number 2. So this is how you can check for each user what were the exact answers they provided for every attempt. And Nick, are you ready for your next question? It's from an anonymous attendee, and they ask, sorry, my mistake. I don't see the LinkedIn icon next to the certificate if I switch as a learner. What do I do wrong?
Well, not necessarily something you do wrong. Let me again share. And you should be able to see my screen. So just to reiterate the question, if you just become a learner and you're looking at the progress here, right? And you're looking at your certificates, you do not see the button to share the certificate. Well, in my case, you don't see it because I don't have any certificates. But if I become my friend Armin again, and let me show you that. There is Armin. So if I become Armin and I look at my progress and my certificates, here is my LinkedIn button. So what happens if you don't see it? The reason I swap myself over first is to tell you that maybe you don't have any certificates for this to be shown up. So please make sure you do indeed have some certificates so that you can actually show them up. Now, if you have certificates and you don't see the button, are you sure that you have enabled this option as an admin? So let's see where that is. As the admin, I'll go home in my account and settings. And now in my account and settings, I look on the users tab. And if I scroll down, social options, allow sharing certificates on LinkedIn. If this is not checked, actually, this is checked right now, so Armin can do that. Let me uncheck and say it there. And now this is saved. And I will once more become Armin. There he is. So now that I'm Armin, if I go to my certificates, now you see I don't have the button to share the certificate anymore. So this could be due to two different things. Either you as the admin don't have a specific certificate, or you don't have any certificate. It's very common for an admin not to have certificates. You create the courses, you manage them. You don't need to prove to yourself that you know them, so it makes sense. Or make sure you go to your user section, just scroll down, social options, allow sharing certificates on LinkedIn, make sure this is saved, and now your learners can actually do that. Paul says the admin's login to account function is so vital for troubleshooting. Oh my God, I agree so much, Paul. Indeed, it helps a lot. I mean, I could swap myself over to learner and do something, but as you know, I don't necessarily have a lot of information to my name as a learner, right? Whereas, and this is a tip we always recommend, maybe if you have the capacity for it, one or two fake people that are a bit different, especially as learners. So you can just, become that person the same way I did become Armin. I don't need to know their username. I don't need to know the password. As long as they are in TalentLMS, there they are, type their name. I click on this little icon here, log into the account, and I become this person. Just pay a bit of attention. If you're going to take an action, it's going to feel like that specific user took the action. So keep in mind, because you always have to pay attention to that, because maybe you will attribute an unwanted, action in the platform to a specific learner. Do we have any more questions, Irene?
Actually, we don't. And I think that's a wrap. So thank you all for joining today. And as mentioned at the beginning, part 2 is coming where we'll focus on course delivery. So we hope to see you all there. And I'm sure that although we don't have any questions left now, more will about to come since you will rewatch the recording. So send us an email to success@talentlms.com. And of course, we're very excited to see your comments. So feel free to do so by following the link posted in the chat by Theo. Now, as we said, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Nick. And thank you, Theo, for answering all the questions in the background and helping us out.
And a big thank you from me as well to all the people. We love your questions. Keep them coming. And remember, we're going to have the next session, right? That focus on admin. Correct, Irene?
Yes. So see you on our next session. Until then, happy training.